Hi guys, it's about time we gave you another trip update on our trip around Australia. So we're at pretty much exactly 7 months into our trip now. We missed the 6-month point, so we just thought we'd do the 7 and just sort of catch up to date on where we are, what we're doing, and answer a few of your questions.
Yep. So basically, first of all, we'll just start with where we've been so far. So for anyone that hasn't followed our trip up to date, we quit our jobs and started travelling on the 28th of February this year. We shot down within a few weeks down to Tasmania, had a couple of months there, and then went up through the centre and did Ayers Rock and Catajuda and the Fink Desert Race. And then we shot back across the Plenty Highway and down Queensland and stopped back in at home for a few weeks. So while we were back at home, I worked back at my old job for a few weeks, just training up a new staff member, which was helpful to get a little bit extra money. It was also good to catch up with all of our families and friends. So from there we made our way out west and did a bit of a loop around Warwick, Goondiwindi, all that type of area, and that's when the bushfires started up. So we went back into home for another week or so, I think it was, whilst that was all really full on, and then from there we left and ventured south. So we had planned to come down to the Bathurst area to film a truck video. We started a new channel called Loaded Media on Facebook and YouTube. We headed down to Bathurst for a funeral, and then as we were around that area we explored a little bit around there and then ducked back in towards Newcastle, Anna Bay, where my sister lived, and catched up with all of those people and family before we headed off again. So we reached out on Facebook and Instagram and we asked if anyone had any questions for us to answer for our 6 to 7 months full-time travel. So we got a few of those.
Okay, so the first question on Instagram was from Bluey the Obese. Favourite mod after 6 months or 7 now on the road, and on the other side of the coin, what mod was the most disappointing / didn't live up to expectations? I think our favourite mod on the car would probably have to be the kitchen box and gravity fed water tank in one on the back. We use it every day, and just having extra storage outside the car has been really helpful.
Do you mind? Terribly. Lay down. Good boy.
The most disappointing mod, there's been a few little things here and there that we've changed, but one that was only recent, it was around when the bushfires was on, which was another reason just to duck in home again, was we originally had an upgraded radiator, alloy 3-core in the car. It just wasn't it was a fairly old radiator. We've had it in the car for probably 6 years now anyway, but the car was just starting to run warmer than I like it to. So another reason we ducked in home was we put just a standard 2-core radiator back in, and we got a upgraded hub and fan and put that in, and since that it's been running a lot cooler. I'd say that's probably one mod that was a bit of a disappointment, with the larger radiator not really helping out.
So on Facebook we got a question from Marley Newbie. It says, do you guys ever argue or disagree about where to go next, or when you guys are setting up or packing up? So we don't really. Basically wherever the area is that we're around, I'll just jump on Wikicamps and try and find the best place for us to camp within a certain radius that suits us. Usually it's places that have either toilets or showers if we need those at the time. Mainly it's free camps, and if it's four-wheel drive only, we usually prefer those because that means that it's less people that get out to those spots. Setting up and packing up, we don't really disagree because it's so easy to put our tent up and it doesn't take very long. The main thing we would disagree on overall is just how long to stay at a certain place, a certain camp. Sometimes there's just no real reason to leave, and if we're not headed somewhere for a certain time frame, it's easy to just hang in a certain spot or go, oh, we should probably go or probably move. So that's the main thing we would probably disagree on.
On Instagram, Tony Parker 65 asked, how is the rooftop tent holding up? Really, really well. I don't think we've had any issues with it. It's been through a lot of different weather so far. We had a fair bit of wind and rain in Tasmania and that sort of stuff, as well as the real corrugated roads out near Fink and Alice Springs that it didn't let any dust inside of it while we were driving along. So no issues so far with that. It's all pretty good.
This one's from Scott Watson. It says, hey Chris and Steph, just wondering what your common meals are and how you meal prep, plan and shop. So basically we're pretty simple with how we shop and what we cook. We like to support little towns, so if there's camps or places that you can eat outside with your pets and things, we'll stop through the day and have, you know, pub meals and things like that where we can, or little bakeries here and there, stuff like that. In regards to grocery shopping, also pretty simple stuff. So we like to get long-term storage meals, so say tuna and stuff like that for salad and wraps and things, chicken wraps, steak and salad. Heinz do a few good canned meals, say butter chicken and things like that. We'll just add a steamed rice and put it in the little sort of stand and stuff pockets that you get as you do sort of tacos and things. We do a lot of meals like that, and bacon and egg wraps and things like that.
Thomas Peace on Instagram asked, how have you been servicing on the road, dropping it into local shops or doing it yourself? I've said before, I'm no mechanic. I'll do basic sort of maintenance on the car, and I'm forever just keeping an eye on oil, coolant, all that. Normally I was getting it serviced every 5,000 Ks. Out on the road, because we've been doing a fair bit of driving, we've just been doing it every 10, and that's been working out fine for us. Luckily we haven't had anything too major so far, but if it comes up in between services, we'll just sort of go through the car and get things checked over. But I think so far we've only had 2 or 3 services done, and in between I'm just, you know, keeping on top of oil levels and stuff like that. A really big help we have noticed is on social media like Instagram and Facebook. There's been a really good way of getting recommendations of good mechanics in areas. A lot of the time I'll just put an Instagram post or story up and say, we're in, you know, this area, can anyone recommend a good mechanic? And yeah, it's really good to get sort of local knowledge from where you are and know that you're going to the right place.
So Atlas 4x4 asks, where are you now? We are outside Singleton in Pecolbin State Forest at the moment, just free camping out at Brokenback.
The view behind us is sort of the Hunter Valley wine region, to give you an idea of where we are. Greg Oxenham Senior asked, hey there, do you have a solar panel or solar blanket that you use when not traveling, and are camped up for a few days? If so, what brand and how many amps? Cheers. Yeah, we've got a flexible solar panel on top of our Thundertop tent. It's a 135 watt, so it just charges, you know, if we're parked in a car park through the day, or around camp if we're not in the shade. But we kept a portable solar blanket so we can try and camp in the shade and run the blanket out to the sun. It's a Core 150 watt folding blanket, and we've got I think it's a 10 meter heavy duty extension, so we can actually run a fair way out from the car to get that extra solar.
So Get Lost Off-Road asks, are you coming back to Victoria to travel the high country? Yes, we are. Last time we were in Victoria, we had just got back from Tasmania. It was freezing winter and we were heading to Ayers Rock, so we didn't have time to explore that area. We would definitely like to, and we're definitely heading that way. We'll probably be doing that over the next few months. And we're super keen to see all that area has to offer.
Okay, GI 1965 asks, do you have a long range tank and a sub tank? You look back heavy sometimes. How are you supporting your suspension in the rear? We don't have a long range tank. We've just got the standard 90 litre in the back, but I've got a 78 litre Brown Davis sub tank, belly tank. It is heavy in the rear because of that, plus water tanks, plus the kitchen, plus the tyre, plus the batteries, plus the drawers and the fridge and the tent and all that. It is heavy in the rear, so we went and got Airbag Man coil assist airbags, and they've been great. Really liking them so far.
So Luke Desira asks, tell them the price, son. Would love to know your breakdown of expenses over the 6 months if you've been tracking it. So as we said, we sort of missed the 6 months. We're on 7 months basically currently, and at the end of this video we're going to break down those costs for you of what it's cost us so far in accommodation and travel for the 7 months that we've been on the road. Sam Baker 440 on Instagram asks, what camera gear do you use? Planning our own lap next year and would like to do the same for memories. Basically it's a pretty simple setup. We've got a Canon 80D which we use as our main camera, just with a Manfrotto tripod and a shotgun mic. Apart from that, all we really use, we've got a GoPro which we don't use a heap, just here and there, a DJI Mavic Pro which all our aerial shots are from. We have just bought a Ronin, a DJI Ronin for this Canon DSLR camera, but that's more for our other stuff that we do with truck videos and that. We don't really need it for this, it's just a big gimbal for the SLR. And apart from that, just the, I think it's called the DJI Osmo for an iPhone. Steph normally gets a lot of shots just on her iPhone with the gimbal on that. The cameras on iPhones are so good now, you may as well use them, and you've always got your phone on you, so it's just a quick, easy way to get shots if you're going for a walk or whatever away from the car, rather than dragging a heavy SLR camera with you. I've got one for Kez Hawkins. It says, this one's for you, Steph. Do you ever feel scared when you're free camping, when there's no one else around, just you guys? That's a good question. Sometimes during the night, if it's just us, I'll be asleep and just wake up and hear something, and I'll wake Chris up and be like, what's that noise? And he always tells me it's just a possum.
It's always a possum. If you hear a weird noise outside the car, it's a possum. And a lot of the time in the more west areas, you hear kangaroos jumping down the road and Steph thinks it's people walking.
It sounds like people.
So yeah, it's always, there's always a logical explanation. It's not, you know, someone out to get you.
And I think in Australia it's good because if you just think of worst case, there's nothing really other than people that animal wise that can really like be hunting you. There's like, you know, snakes and spiders that can hurt you, but there's nothing like bears or tigers or things like that can actually hunt you down, so that can put your mind at ease a little bit.
Unless you're terrified of snakes like me, and then it doesn't help. Dalton's Off-Road asked about to start a trip and have asked the others this as well. My GU is about the same size, lifted on 35s. Do you get any extra attention from police, or do they just see another rig passing through their town? This is a big one I was trying to find information on before we left. Our patrol is fully engineered in New South Wales, so if we get pulled up in New South Wales, I can show them engineer certificates and show that it's legal. But because all the states have their own rules, I was really unsure of how that all worked. So far, touch wood, it's been fine. I think more often than not they can tell. I think a lot of it comes down to how you drive and stuff, and I've seen that in our hometown as well. If you're driving like an idiot and coming through town covered in mud and big chunks of mud are falling off, hitting cars and stuff, you're going to draw attention to yourself. If you keep the car clean and drive responsibly, you shouldn't really have a big drama, like unless they're on a mission just to target that sort of vehicle at the time. But so far so good. All you can really do is keep it as legal as you possibly can, drive responsibly, don't speed, don't be an idiot, and you should be okay.
Yeah, we haven't had anyone pull us over yet.
Touch wood.
This one's from Peter. It says, have you had your hair cut yet? She has a salon in Lismore, and that's where I got my hair cut off. And yes, I've had it cut once in Anna Bay, which is where my sister lives, on the first few weeks of our trip, because I thought I wanted it shorter. It's grown since, and I don't want it shorter. I think I'm going to grow it out again. Just the story of my life. Yeah, I don't think I'll be getting it cut again anytime soon.
I've had my cut too a few times. Steph does it.
Gotta save my money somehow.
Brenton Luke, what's the longest you have lived off the grid for? That's pretty hard. The longest we've probably set up and camped in one spot with our current setup would be 4 days or so, but we've gone longer than we've gone like a few weeks without any 240 volt connection or anything like that. So in good conditions, our solar is more than enough just to keep us going. We don't really, you know, zap our power down too much. You get used to going to bed when the sun goes down and getting up when it comes up and all that. I'd be pretty confident power-wise to stay off grid for a few weeks easily. The only thing that would sort of limit our off-grid time is our water. If we were near a creek, we've got a hot shower that we can pull water from and stuff like that, but if there was no water source around, we could only really go as long as our water lasts. We've got roughly somewhere around 130 litres of clean drinking water on board. As long as we can stretch that out for, that would be our main thing. But power, I'm pretty confident we can go really in good conditions as long as we want. The solar's enough to charge us fully back up.
We've got one from Shazza King. It says, can you please tell me where you got your clothes packing cells from? So we showed them in a previous video. We use them for all of our clothes, and we pop them in our drawers just to organise our own clothes and keep them nice and tidy and condensed. So we've got a bit of a mix. We've got X-Bed, which are super lightweight and really great quality, and we've also got Kathmandu, which we've had for a little bit longer, and I would probably suggest X-Bed over Kathmandu. The quality and the materials that X-Bed use last a lot longer than the Kathmandu materials, but they're definitely worth getting, and they just make things so much easier to pack and organise. Yeah,
we did get 2 different types of Kathmandu ones, and the first lot we got, you can definitely see them wearing more, whereas the second lot we got, which was sort of a half mesh pack, they've held up really well. They're not wearing at all, so maybe it was just the earlier design that wasn't as good.
Yeah. So we're right at the end of the video. So basically 7 months on the road, we've been recording our fuel costs and our accommodation costs. Everything else, food, alcohol, pet sitting, all those sort of things can really blow out depending on who you are, how you travel. So fuel and accommodation is one of those things that everyone sort of has to pay for. So we thought we would just give you a bit of an idea of how much that's cost us so far. Saying that, we do really try to seek out free camps wherever we can. But we've also had a few nights in hotels, and we've needed that for certain reasons at certain times. So it's probably a good in between. If you do stay at a few caravan parks and a few free camps, you would easily be able to come in around the cost we've had for the 7 months so far.
Thing is, we try and sort of average. If we do 2 or 3 nights free camp, we're happy to pay, you know, $30 or whatever for a caravan park, just so you can have a hot shower, you know, charge some stuff up. We're not trying to avoid powered sites altogether. We do like mixing them through in amongst the free camps. Okay, so just before I do read out our total, we will note and acknowledge that our 6th month was when we had to swing home for a few things, and that whole month we had basically no expense. We weren't using fuel and we weren't paying for accommodation. Thank you, Mum and Dad. Even though this is 7 months on the road, it's sort of equivalent to 6 full months actually traveling. We have had a few things lately that, like with a funeral down in Bathurst and stuff, that's made us have to drive a certain distance over a shorter period of time. Okay, so the total so far for 7 months on the road, for accommodation or camping fees, just anything to do with that, for 7 months has been $1,332.80. We will note about $500 of that at least has just been on like 3 or 4 nights in a motel. One night was when we were getting the car service in Victoria, and it was going to take over a day to do it, so we had to get a hotel. And a few nights at Bathurst when we were at the funeral and that sort of thing. $1,300 or so for 7 months with those, you know, few hotel stays. We're really happy with that average. In 7 months we've spent $6,059.32 on diesel. If you factor in that month at home where we weren't really driving, works out to about $1,000 a month. We're pretty happy with that average. We do intend on, and we've said it before, slowing that down, but who knows, it might just creep up. So for 7 months total for accommodation and fuel has been $7,392.12.
7 months on the road. If you don't know our story, we quit our jobs to travel. We saved up for 18 months to travel as long as we can. So it's been absolutely awesome so far, and we're really looking forward to what we get to see and experience in the future. So basically we're thinking of heading down, doing the Victorian high country, going into South Australia, and then over to WA, all through WA, and do the Kimberley and over the top, and then Cape. So we've got a fair bit in front of us. And
see if that changes too.
Yeah, we seem to change our minds all the time, so who knows, but that's the plan so far. The highlights for me to date would be, we were travelling towards Alice Springs. We'd done the Kings Canyon and we were heading into Alice Springs. We'd had a huge thunderstorm and the sun was starting to set, and as we were driving in, we were running out of fuel as well because we were too cheap to pay so much at Kings Canyon. It was like $2.17 a litre, and we're like, oh no, we can make it. Such a bad decision. So we were stressing about that, but on our way through there was just these beautiful brumbies in the middle of the road. The sun was just shining right on them with the rain clouds in the background. It was just beautiful. Also getting approached by different people that follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram has been pretty awesome. There'll be so many times that Chris's phone will go off and it'll be someone that spotted us here or there and taken a picture of the car, or wanting to meet us and they're in the same area. We've met so many awesome people. It's been so cool. If we didn't have any social media, we wouldn't have met half the people we've met so far. Just the drought has been so sad to see. So much of the country is just begging for rain, and it's so hard to drive through those places with the drought being as bad as it is.
The main sort of positive thing I've really noticed is just simply like the freedom to do what you want. If you wake up in the morning and you don't feel, you know, real keen to go do anything, you can just have a lazy morning, lazy day. If you're keen to go out and explore, you can do that. You can choose what you want to do. You can keep moving. You can keep moving and get to, you know, a new place every night, or just stay and enjoy a place. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to having a weekend away and it's a beautiful spot and you have to pack up to go back to work. We can just stay there, and if anything it gets better because all through the week, Monday to Friday, there's no one around. You have it to yourself. You can, you know, just enjoy the freedom of it. And a big thing too is not, it might sound silly to some people, but not always taking the direct route to a place. You can take a back road and just check out the scenery and go slow, pull up, have lunch if you want to, and just that push of always, I've got to be here, I've got to be there, that's all gone, and you can just really enjoy your time. Me being interested in trucks and stuff, I've always wanted to go to the Clarendon Kenworth Classic. It's just a truck show in Sydney. Never been able to go from, I'm working or it's too far to get there on your days off and stuff. We were able to go, have 3 full days there, meet a lot of awesome people that I've always wanted to meet and talk to, and just actually have that time and the freedom to do what you want to do. It's yeah, it definitely opens your eyes.
Yeah, we'll link a video that we made on the day as well if you want to check it out. And like Chris said, like to be able to have that freedom to just go, oh, we're in the area, this is on, let's go do this, and to see people like trying to cram that into a weekend and go, we're working here and here, we've got to book this time off work and get back. That used to be us for everything, so it's so nice to not have to be like that. And if we want to go somewhere or prioritize something, we can do that.
Okay guys, so that's a 6/7 month wrap up of us on the road with our month off in the middle there.
So thank you so much for everyone that continues to watch, follow along, message, comment, like, all that stuff. It's so awesome. People that see us in different areas and come up to say hello. We're so happy to be able to share our experience, and like we said, it's just different for everybody, but this is just our experience, and we've met so many great people through it. So thank you so much to everybody, and we'll be continuing to make videos and share with you the rest of our trip as we go. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in our next video. Bye.